One might think that human evolution has come to a halt in our modern age. After all, people no longer die simply because they are weak. But that's not entirely true. Time and again, people make such foolish decisions that they end up costing themselves their lives. Evolution, it seems, is still at work even today. For this reason, we're presenting some of the dumbest yet most tragic deaths of all time. Cases that should serve as a warning to us all. Let's begin with a case that shows just how quickly life can end when you make the wrong choice. In this clip, you see 31-year-old Dutch father Mourad Lamrabat, who was on a boat trip off the coast of Mallorca with his wife and young son. There, he had not only a reckless but also an irresponsible idea. He spotted a nearly 30-meter high cliff and told his wife to film him jumping off it. So, he jumped. But mid-air, he screamed as he realized his jump was too short. In front of his wife and son, he clipped the cliff face and fell into the water. His wife was in shock. Yet in that moment, she might still have been able to save him. Mourad's autopsy later revealed that he hadn't died from the impact. He was initially only unconscious and then drowned. Next, we have a story that shows just how far human recklessness can go. For this one, we go back to October 14th, 2004. Pilot Jesse Rhodes, 31, and his 23-year-old co-pilot had a simple routine task for their employer, Pinnacle Airlines: ferry a small passenger jet from Little Rock, Arkansas, to Minneapolis. It was an empty flight, and they were the only ones on board. That sense of freedom fueled the young pilot's recklessness. They took off in an extremely steep climb and performed aggressive maneuvers until a warning light illuminated in the cockpit. When they reached 11,000 meters, they requested clearance to climb to 12,500, the aircraft's absolute limit. Air traffic control approved, and Rhodes even joked over the radio, "We're just having a little fun." But fun quickly turned to disaster. At 12,500 meters, the engines lost thrust and the wings barely generated lift. The aircraft was on the verge of a stall and the safety systems kicked in. What did the pilots do? They disabled them 3 times. Then the inevitable happened. Both engines failed. Instead of immediately declaring an emergency, they attempted to restart the engines by windmilling them during descent. It didn't work. They plummeted to 4,000 meters, tried again using the auxiliary engine. Still nothing. Only after 8 minutes did they inform the tower, reporting just one failed engine. At 22:14, they finally spotted a runway, but it was far too distant. Rhodes' last words were, "We're not going to make it. We're going to hit houses." His co-pilot suggested leaving the landing gear up. Seconds later, the plane slammed into a residential area, flipped, and burst into flames. Both pilots were killed. Miraculously, no one on the ground was hurt. The investigation's conclusion was crystal clear: human error. The scandal was so severe that Pinnacle Airlines later rebranded as Endeavour Air. Next is the epitome of youthful recklessness: the tragic case of 17-year-old rapper Rilo Huncho. Known for posting selfie videos of himself rapping on TikTok, Huncho made the fatal decision in 2024 to use a real gun as a prop. In the video, he fiddled with the weapon, held it to his head, and suddenly, a shot went off. Police reviewing the footage determined it was an accident. Rilo Huncho died instantly. His case is a chilling reminder that firearms should never be in the hands of careless, inexperienced people, and a warning of how dangerous showing off online can be. Let's move to a tragedy caused not just by a dumb action, but by a fatal misunderstanding. In August 2015, 17-year-old Vera Mol from the Netherlands was vacationing with friends in Cantabria, a popular region in northern Spain. She decided to try bungee jumping for the first time and booked with a company called FlowTrack. That choice turned out to be deadly. The company organized the jump from a bridge that wasn't even approved for bungee jumping. But that wasn't the fatal mistake. As Vera stood on the railing, the staff attached the cord to her harness, but hadn't secured it to the bridge yet. One of the staff members, speaking broken English with a heavy accent, shouted to her, "No jump!" Vera, however, heard, "Now jump," and leapt to her death. The tragedy could have been easily avoided. The instructor should have used the clearer phrase, "Don't jump," which is required safety protocol. On top of that, Vera was underage, and no one checked her age. The company had no permit for that location, and she should never have been allowed to climb onto the railing unsecured. In the end, 2 FlowTrack employees were sentenced to prison, but the pain of Vera's death still haunts her family. Next is a haunting accident from March 2024 on a family farm in Iowa, USA. 94-year-old farmer Robert Wayne Smith was working alongside his son. While the son hauled trailers of soybeans, Robert unloaded them into a massive storage silo, a routine they had followed for decades. But when his son returned with the next trailer, he was met with horror. His father had vanished. Then he saw him, engulfed in the middle of the silo, being sucked down by tons of beans. The funnel-shaped design accelerated the deadly sink. Robert stood no chance. Neither police nor rescue teams could reach him in time. He suffocated amid millions of tiny beans, a silent trap with no air and no escape. The next tragedy shows how even the most innocent activities can turn deadly. In June 2020, 12 and 14-year-old sisters, Scout and Chasey Scaravilli from Ohio, just wanted to relax in a hammock in their backyard. What started as a peaceful summer day ended in horror. The girls tied the hammock between 2 pillars, unaware they weren't anchored to the ground. When they climbed in, the heavy pillars toppled and crushed them beneath. Even worse, their parents and younger sister witnessed it all but couldn't save them. The deaths of Scout and Chasey were more tragic accident than foolish act. The girls were simply too young to see the danger. Still, the case reminds us that risk can lurk in the most ordinary places. Next are 3 friends, Kelsey, Savannah, and Essa, young women from Utah who, in October 2011, took this selfie, which would be their last. In the photo, they stood on a narrow railway crossing between 2 tracks as a freight train roared past. Thrilled by the moment, Savannah posted the selfie on Facebook with the caption, "Standing right by a train, haha, this is awesome." What they didn't hear was another train approaching from the opposite direction. The noise of the first train drowned out everything else. The engineers of the second train saw them, blasted the horn, and slammed the brakes, but the massive locomotive couldn't stop in time. Seconds later, all 3 were hit. 2 died instantly. Savannah was airlifted to a hospital with critical injuries, but days later, her parents faced the heartbreaking decision to take her off life support. Finally, we come to a case as bizarre as it is disturbing: the death of Kenneth D. Pinion. Pinion, an experienced engineer from Washington State, had a highly unusual private hobby. Along with other men, he engaged in extreme and dangerous acts involving animals. Specifically, Pinion was attracted to horses. The group even filmed these encounters. For a while, nothing went wrong, but in 2005, during one such encounter, Pinion suffered catastrophic internal injuries. The others hesitated to get help, likely fearing legal consequences and public disgrace. By the time they brought him to the hospital, it was too late. The case made national headlines and sparked debates about personal freedom, morality, and legal grey areas. In its aftermath, Washington State passed a law explicitly banning such practices. Let us know in the comments which case shocked you the most. Bye and see you next time.